Well, it's year 2 of the Mueller investigation, and the latest twist is that Donald Trump and his friends in Congress are engaging in a potentially dangerous game of trying to expose an FBI informant, one who they falsely claim was sent by the Obama administration to spy on Trump's campaign. Enter 2 new reports from the New York Times and the Washington Post, both papers citing people familiar with the matter. According to the reports, the FBI did indeed send an informant to talk to 3 Trump campaign advisors after receiving evidence that they had suspicious contacts with Russia. Those advisors, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, and Sam Clovis. Folks, that's not spying, it's called counterintelligence. And join me now is MSNBC contributor Malcolm Nance, former FBI double agent Naveed Jamali, and scholar of authoritarian states Sarah Kendzior. Thank you all for being here. And Malcolm, to resume the same conversation we've now been having for, what, almost 2.5 years, this idea that the Obama administration was spying on the Trump campaign, does not strike me as a smart defense for the Trump campaign, because they are essentially admitting that the FBI was so concerned about 3 people that were actively working in the campaign that they sent an FBI informant to talk to them about their ties to Russia. Am I reading that right or wrong?
You're reading it right. I mean, it's the same attitude as if, you know, a mafia boss goes into his favorite Italian restaurant and finds that there are microphones and police vans and informants inside there and goes, "What did I do?" Well, what you did was the very nature of your criminal enterprise. For us to wake up and find that the FBI was so concerned, as we predicted 2 years ago almost, and that they had to go in there and found people within the campaign or near the campaign who were willing to come to the FBI and act as an informant, tells you that there is an underlying basis of criminality happening here that is real, and pretending that it's not is not going to get them out of the hole that they're in.
And Naveed, you know, there's been this whole debate that's going on Twitter. A former FBI agent who works with another network, who's a contributor there, has been trying to school members, you know, defenders of Donald Trump, and saying, no, the FBI didn't even have to believe that there was some criminal activity. They just had to believe that there was a reason to go in from a counterintelligence point of view. Having been a double agent and worked with the FBI, why would the FBI send somebody into a campaign like this to talk to someone? Do they have to believe that, you know, a robbery was about to take place or a crime was going to take place, or what other reason would they do it?
Well, that's exactly right. It's a counterintelligence operation, the outcome of which is to stop a foreign adversary from successfully running an intelligence operation. So you're not necessarily looking for criminal activity, you're not necessarily looking to prosecute someone. And I think, Joy, that goes back to the heart of the question here, that this was started because Russia was engaged in an operation to harm the United States by interfering with our elections. Let's underscore that, harm the United States. And the real question here, the simple question, is were there any Americans who helped Russia in their operations to harm? And that doesn't mean, when you help Russia in that effort, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something criminal. It may not rise to that level. I remember a time when doing the right thing didn't require a law. I mean, if you take a meeting with the Russians and you don't call the FBI, in my book, that is helping the Russians in their efforts to harm the United States. It may not be criminal, but you're doing so. That alone is enough for the FBI to come in and say, why did you take a meeting? Why did you do this? Let's figure out if there is a crime, but let's look into this. We know Russia is engaged in activities to hurt the United States. Let's see if anyone is actually doing anything to help them.
And Sarah, the fact that they were able to obtain FISA warrants to continue looking into these people is an indication that there was a good faith belief that there was some contact that was nefarious, that was helping Russia and not helping the United States. I want to play FBI Director Christopher Wray, who on Wednesday in a Capitol Hill hearing was trying to explain the responsibilities of the FBI to those who provide information to it. And this is in the context of some Republicans, Devin Nunes and friends, who want to unmask. They want to reveal the identity of this informant, and the FBI is trying to explain to them why this would be a very, very bad idea. Take a listen.
Human sources in particular, who put themselves at great risk to work with us and with our foreign partners, have to be able to trust that we're going to protect their identities and, in many cases, their lives and the lives of their families. And the day that we can't protect human sources is the day the American people start becoming less safe.
And we know from the Washington Post, Sarah, that Trump allies believe that outing this source who was trying to help the United States against Russia, and revealing details about his or her work for the FBI could help them challenge the investigation and potentially provide a cause for removing Robert Mueller or his overseer, Rod Rosenstein. It's pretty extraordinary that that is something that they proactively want to do.
Yeah, it's just another chapter in this ongoing obstruction of justice. And, you know, there have been other outlets like the New York Times that have revealed enough information about this informant that many people are guessing his identity. That's a very dangerous thing. But one thing that's particularly frustrating is that the FBI has been looking into these criminal connections for a very long time. They've been looking into the Russian mafia for a very long time. Mueller in 2011 gave a very interesting speech about this network between government interests, corporate interests, and criminal interests, all colliding in a globalized, technologically bound way that would have profound impact on our lives. The kinds of people he described in that speech sound exactly like Trump and his network. And so, you know, what kind of continues to blow my mind about this is how did they allow, you know, this band of multinational criminals to gain such access to the White House? When Manafort joined the campaign, why wasn't there more of an effort to break that down, or at least to inform the American public about what they're doing? Because the position we're in now is that they are in charge. They do have the executive branch. They're using every capacity they can to try to wipe out this investigation, to try to prevent justice from being served, and to keep people in the dark. And the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to fight.
And you have now, and I want to first ask Malcolm and then Reid, since Reid, you also did this work, but I'm going to start with Malcolm on this. You now have open speculation on the right among the Trump allies about who this informant might be, and really trying to reveal this person's identity. Obviously, the reason that Devin Nunes and his committee want this information is so they can, you know, reveal it, give it to Fox News, give it to their allies. I mean, have you ever heard of, in the course of your career working in the intelligence world, politicians actively trying to reveal, well, other than Valerie Plame being thrown under the bus during the Bush administration, trying to actively reveal the identity of somebody who could be put in harm's way by that revelation?
Never. Never. This is, I mean, it's until Valerie Plame, who's a friend of mine, until Valerie Plame, this was considered a treasonous act. No one would ever out a clandestine service officer, an agent who was being handled, an FBI confidential informant, for political purposes. And it needs to go back to that, because this is dangerous, not just to democracy, but to our national security. This could kill Americans. And for them to actually believe that the political expedience is worth outing these people, they will harm this nation in the long run.
And you know, Reid, as somebody who did this work as a double agent, could you ever, in your wildest imagination, have imagined that one of the risks you were taking was that you would run afoul politically of some political party, and that members of that party would then seek to reveal your identity merely to protect a fellow member of their party?
It's crazy. I mean, it is crazy. It's shocking. You know, it's one of the things that disturbs me the most. Look,